Hey folks, it's Jamie here and welcome to another UploadVR comparison. Today we are looking at Doom 3 in VR. Now, as you probably know, Doom 3 VR Edition just released exclusively on PSVR, but it's not actually the only way you can play Doom 3 in VR. So the game has had a lot of different ports over the years, but more recently it came to SideQuest with a pretty accomplished version. Now, I won't actually go too much into what I think personally about playing Doom 3 in VR because I don't want to make any more enemies. But it's quite interesting to see the differences between the two in this video. So just starting out here, we are seeing the introduction, and what you can actually do in the Quest version of the game is choose between seeing a 2D window, like you can see on the PSVR side, and playing it out in full 3D, which is nice to have the option for, but it's actually a bit sickly. But as we get into the first environment, we're going to start seeing some graphical differences. They are the same game. You're not getting exactly the same experience as you are from inside the headset, but you'll be able to tell a few different things just as you're watching along.
This is the last time. I'm tired of running damage control every time he makes a mess.
Right. You're the control. And if that fails, I'm the damage.
If that's what it takes, the trooper is going to start doing things our way.
Whatever you say, counselor.
So here's the hands. Now, the thing to say about this is that on Quest, you use your two individual motion controllers, and then in the Doom 3 VR edition on PSVR, you're using either the PlayStation Aim controller or a DualShock 4 controller. I could be wrong, but I checked pretty extensively and couldn't get the Move controllers to work. So you'll be using two hands that are essentially tied together the entire time, which obviously looks a little awkward with certain weapons like using the fists here or grenades later on. But then when it comes to things like holding a shotgun, it actually feels a little cooler than what you've got going on Quest. Now graphically, you can already see that it's actually looking a lot sharper on the Quest, which is pretty remarkable, all things considered. But now let's talk a little bit about the UI. You could see a floating in-game option there on the Quest version, whereas it kind of came up more statically on the PSVR version. One of the really nice things that developer Archaeact has done on the PSVR version of the game is they've actually put bullet counters and health mounted to your wrist and weapons in this version of the game, which is far more intuitive, far more natural and organic for VR. Whereas the Quest version kind of just has the actual HUD elements from the traditional game just floating around you, which is fine, but it doesn't work as well as what you can see on PSVR. But moving on, let's talk about the PDA, which you spend a lot of time in Doom 3. Now, on the PSVR version, it's actually brought up as another 2D window, just like we were seeing in the cutscenes just there. But impressively, in the Dr. Beef SideQuest port, you're actually getting like a full in-game PDA, which is a really nice little feature. Another thing that's different between the two versions is actually the panels that you interact with in the game. So on the PSVR version, you're kind of pointing at them with your aim controller or DualShock 4 and then pressing the triangle when you've got the cursor in the right place. Whereas on Quest 2, you can actually walk up and physically press the buttons, which again is actually kind of a nice touch. No pun intended. The Quest version of the game also gives you lots of different options in terms of aiming. As you can see, I'm cycling through some of the different options you have here. You can have like reticles, or you can have red dots, or you can have proper laser sights. Whereas in the PSVR version, it's actually kind of fixed depending on what weapon you use. I've got a pistol that has a laser sight, a machine gun that has like a blue laser sight, but then I don't think the shotgun actually has any kind of aiming assist at all. This is another great point to look at the difference in the visuals. Obviously, the lighting feels a lot different here. And you can also just start to see the combat work differently between the two different types of controllers you're using. Again, it's a good idea to look at the quality of the textures on the weapons that you're seeing here. It's again really, really sharp on Quest 2. It's not that the PSVR version looks bad, it's just quite interesting that the standalone Quest 2 version actually looks a fair bit better. And then you'll see some striking differences again here in this cutscene, which again I'm watching in 3D, but actually not the best option because it made me feel a little sicky. Difference in character models, everything like that, very interesting. Also important to talk about things like scale in the game. I actually don't think the scale in either game is really perfect, but actually it's probably just a bit better on the SideQuest version. I know I sound like I'm really trampling on the PSVR version here, but I do want to stress I actually think developer Archaeact did a pretty good job porting Doom 3 to PSVR. It's just inherently I don't think the game is really very well suited to VR in whatever headset you play it in. Having said that, based on the video, which version would you like to play? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notifications button, and stay with us for many more VR comparisons and all the latest coverage.